All right, in Calculus Vectors Unit 2, I've had a question from Lesson 5, and I'm going to do the first question in the homework, just so people can follow me through on the thought process here. So I'm going to convert these three equations into a matrix, and you can pick whichever order you want. If I keep with the first row, I'm going to make that first number positive, so I'm going to switch all the signs, or I could pick row 3. It doesn't really matter. So if I go in with row 1 here, when I enter it, I'm going to multiply it by -1 so that I get that leading number to be a +1, which is what I want. Now I'm going to enter the rest of the numbers in as is. And 1, 2, and 3, 0. So my goal here in this matrix is to get 1s on the diagonal. So I've got a 1 in the first spot that I want, up in the top corner. My next job is to make this a 0. So on this line, I'm going to take row 2, and I am going to add 2 times row 1. So if I do that addition, -2 plus 2 will give me 0. Now I'll have -3 minus 6, 2 times -3, so -3 minus 6 is -9. -2 take away 4 is -6. 3 take away 0 is 3. Saving myself a step, I want this row to, or that term to be a 0, so I'm going to go row 3, and I can just do a straight subtract row 1. So doing that subtraction, 1 take away 1 is 0. 2 subtract -3, so that would be a +5. 3 subtract -2, so that's like 3 plus 2. That's a 5. And 0 plus 0, or 0 minus 0 is 0. So now I have my new matrix that I'm working on. Moving down, now I want this to be a +1. So I'm going to have to say row 2, and I'm going to multiply by -1/9, which is not ideal, but it does happen. We're going to end up with some fractions, but I don't think they'll be too complicated. 0, I'm going to end up with a 1. -6/9 will be positive, and it'll be 2/3. And -1/3, so at least they have the same denominator. Next, I need to get the 5 to be a 0, and I don't want to use the 9. It's not very handy. So I'm going to copy this row down, and I'm going to do one more matrix here. So 1, -3, -2, and 0. So I can leave my top 2 rows because they're in the ideal format. Now I'm going to focus on this one here. I'm going to take row 3, and I'm going to subtract 5 row 2. So I have 0, 0. Now this is where the challenge becomes. Do the work off to the side here. 5 minus. So 5 times 2/3 would be 10/3. So that's 15/3 minus 10/3. If you have a calculator, it can be quicker, or maybe you're quicker than I am with fractions. 5/3. And then I have 0. Get rid of this now. So now I have 0 minus. Now it's going to be adding because I'm subtracting a negative. 5/3. So that one's not too bad. It's 5/3. So this works out kind of nice because I'm going to multiply by 3/5. Or I can just say, you know what? Z's going to equal 1. For that to be equal to each other. So now I have my Z value of 1, and I can start doing my substitution. So going backwards, I have 1y plus 2/3 Z equals -1/3. Substituting in, my Z is 1 plus 2/3 times 1 equals -1/3. Subtracting 2/3 from both sides, I get -1. Now I just need to finish up and find my x value from the matrix. So 1x minus 3y minus 2z equals 0. So x minus 3, oops, to be negative, minus 2 times 1 equals 0. So x plus 3 minus 2 equals 0. So that means that x will equal -1. So we have an intersection at -1, -1, and 1. All right. It may look a little bit different. You can enter these. You can enter the rows into the matrix in whichever order you want. So it really depends on your preference here. Normally, myself, I probably would have put this as my row 1 off the start, just out of habit. I don't know whether the math would have worked out much nicer, but anyway, the degree, sometimes a question may look messy, but if you would have picked the equations in a different order, it would have been a little bit easier. So anyway, that's the process, thought process. If you have any more questions, let me know.